Those who tried to break you were unknowingly training you for your final exam. That's the quote the universe just wrote beside your name, chosen one. Because while they laughed at your silence and mocked your delays, the truth is you've just scored 100% on a test you didn't even know you were taking. This wasn't a test of knowledge. It was a test of endurance, patience, and inner power. The universe watched every moment you were ignored, underestimated, or betrayed. And it recorded something those people will never see. You never folded. You never gave in. You passed the kind of exam that doesn't use paper and ink, but pain and pressure. Think about it like this. A diamond doesn't take written tests. It survives fire. You did too. When everyone else took shortcuts or quit early, you stayed in the heat until it shaped you. And here's a fact. Psychologists say resilience isn't something you're born with. It's built through pain. Every time you got back up when it would have been easier to quit, you were literally rewiring your brain to handle more pressure, more chaos, more responsibility. You weren't failing. You were being refined, and that's exactly what separates you from them. And thank you, Chosen One, for being here, truly. Don't forget to pay this message forward by simply pressing like and subscribe. Help spread this light to more souls, because it's all of our responsibility to remind others of their strength. You're not just watching a message, you're part of a movement. You are a part of a force that the universe itself is backing. Now, let's come back to what's really happening. The universe has been keeping score. While you were crying in silence, it was watching your reaction. While you were betrayed, it measured your restraint. While you were ignored, it tested your patience. And while you were being laughed at for failing, it was silently checking boxes that others couldn't even see. The truth is, Chosen One, you were in an invisible exam the entire time. Every heartbreak, every delay, every disappointment, it was all part of a bigger assessment to see how strong your spirit truly was. And you didn't just survive it, you mastered it. When others panicked, you stayed calm. When others begged for validation, you built yourself quietly. When others tried to destroy you, you let the universe do the teaching. That's why you're standing where you are now, wiser, sharper, and calmer. The universe isn't handing out sympathy medals. It gives rewards to those who've proven they can hold power without letting ego corrupt them. That's you. You didn't just get through the storm. You learned how to dance in the rain while everyone else was running for shelter. Let me make something clear. This wasn't luck. The universe doesn't roll dice with your destiny. It planned every setback, every betrayal, every delay as part of your preparation. People think exams are about answers, but this one was about choices. You were tested when you forgave instead of retaliating. You were tested when you walked away instead of explaining yourself. You were tested when you kept your vision alive, even when everyone else doubted you. Those were your essay questions, and your actions were the perfect answers. And now, Chosen One, the universe is announcing your results. It's saying, you're ready. Ready for the elevation others prayed you'd never see. Ready for the recognition they tried to bury. Ready for the abundance that your patience has earned. This isn't about revenge. It's about revelation. The people who once called you weak will soon realize you were being strengthened in secret. The ones who mocked your stillness will see that silence wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. It's funny, isn't it? They thought they were hurting you, but in reality, they were helping you pass. Every insult trained your humility. Every betrayal increased your awareness. Every loss sharpened your focus. You weren't losing. You were learning. You weren't being delayed. You were being developed. The universe was creating a version of you that can't be shaken by storms or seduced by illusions. That's why you passed this exam with perfection. Because your answers came from experience, not ego. Let me tell you something most people never realize. The universe hides your rewards behind struggle on purpose. It knows if you got everything too easily, you wouldn't learn discipline. If people had always treated you right, you wouldn't know the power of detachment. And if every door opened instantly, you wouldn't know how to build your own. That's why the universe sent resistance, to make sure you could handle the very blessings that are now coming your way. You scored 100%, not because life was kind to you, but because you mastered it when it wasn't. Now, your energy has changed. You might have noticed how calm you've become lately, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped fearing. That's the sign of someone who passed their test. You've detached from chaos, you've outgrown drama, and you've realized not every battle deserves your energy. You've learned the rare art of silence, an energy that shakes rooms louder than words ever could. That's graduation-level awareness. So, what happens next? The universe doesn't give trophies, it gives territories, it expands your reach. Suddenly, people start seeing your worth, not because you changed, but because your frequency did. You start attracting opportunities that once seemed out of reach. You start meeting people who mirror your strength, not your wounds. You start walking into rooms you used to dream about. And here's the best part. Those who underestimated you will have front row seats to your rise. Not because you owe them a show, but because the universe wants them to learn what real success looks like when it's earned, not stolen. The truth is, chosen one, you didn't just pass, you were promoted. You proved you can be trusted with peace in the middle of chaos. You proved that even when everything fell apart, your character stayed intact. And that's why the universe is now opening doors that were once locked, shifting situations that seemed stuck, and moving people into or out of your path for your elevation. So remember this, your test was never meant to break you, it was meant to prove you. You've been through the pressure, the pain, the patience, and the pruning, and you're still here. That means the universe has already declared you ready. Not ready in theory. Ready in power, ready in purpose, ready in silence, ready to walk in everything that was being built behind the scenes while you were being tested. And listen, chosen one, before we move forward, take a deep breath and really let this truth land. You passed an exam the world never even saw. That's not luck, that's legacy. Now, before we dive deeper into what the universe has lined up next for you, drop the number 777 in the comments if you feel that alignment awakening inside you right now. It's your sign to the universe that you recognize how far you've come and that you're ready for the next level. And if you can, bless the team behind this message with a small super thanks. It keeps this mission alive and helps spread this light to more souls who need to hear it. Your support, no matter how small, fuels this movement of awakening and truth. Because what's coming next isn't just another message, it's a deeper revelation meant for you. So don't scroll away now. If you're truly one of the chosen, you'll feel that quiet pull to stay until the very end. Let's dive in. Number 1, you cracked the code they can't even read. Those who tried to judge your journey were illiterate in your language. That's the truth the universe stamped on your file, and it stings anyone who ever smirked at your struggle. You weren't just tested, you were tested in a code only the universe understands. That's why the crowd saw chaos while the cosmos saw calibration. They stared at your setbacks and called them failure, but under the surface, those losses were measurements, precise and personal, engineered to reveal what you're really made of. The exam had no syllabus, no proctor, no applause, silent rooms, slammed doors, and long nights where the only thing you could hear was your own breath, reminding you to keep going. And you did. Here's the punch they'll feel in their ribs. They mocked what they couldn't translate. They were tourists in a country you were born to navigate. You were walking through a storm with instructions that weren't printed on paper. They were carved into your spine. The universe wasn't grading your charm, your likes, your clout. It was grading your recovery time. It watched how fast you got back up, how clean you kept your hands when dirty choices were cheaper, how steady your eyes stayed when people tried to sell you shortcuts dressed as opportunities. That's a language they don't speak. Integrity under pressure. Pressure is a polygraph. That's the second quote they won't forget. It exposes liars, inflates fakes, and confirms the ones who are real. You didn't write an answer key, you became one. Every time you stayed quiet when you could have shouted, the universe ticked a box. Every time you walked away with your dignity instead of staying for validation, another box. Every time you chose patience over panic, another. That's why they couldn't validate you. Your exam wasn't built for public approval. It was designed to be passed without witnesses. You might be asking, why didn't anyone understand me while I was in it? Because this test measured what can't be cheered for in real time. The examiners were not your friends, your family, or the crowd. The examiner was the season itself. Delay, silence, isolation. Silence is where the universe checks your pulse. Do you still believe when the phone doesn't ring? Do you still move when the door doesn't open? Do you still trust your path when no one claps? Those were the essay questions. You answered with action. Let's talk metaphors the enemy will taste when they bite their tongue. You were a submarine, not a sailboat. Your strength was proven below the surface where no one could see. You were a black box recorder in a crash. You captured the truth while everything else was noise. You were a vault test. They rattled your handle, poked at your hinges, tried every cheap key, and still couldn't get in. Why? Because you were forged for contents they don't have the clearance to touch. They misread your stillness as weakness and your distance as defeat. But distance was your discipline, stillness was your strategy. And while they performed for attention, you prepared for elevation. Here's a fact to anchor your certainty. Psychologists call it stress inoculation. Controlled exposure to hardship builds resilience and sharpens decision-making under pressure. You weren't collapsing. You were being inoculated. You weren't cursed. You were conditioned. Your nervous system learned how to stay steady in rooms that make other people shake. That's why you look calm now, not because life got soft, but because you got strong. The exam taught you to breathe through fire, and that's why flames don't scare you anymore. You may wonder, if the test was for me, what were they for? The enemy was the environmental variable. Haters are lab equipment. They provide heat, friction, and noise to reveal whether your blueprint is solid or counterfeit. They help set the temperature that turned you from clay into ceramic, from ceramic into stone, from stone into diamond. Their gossip, soundproofing, their envy, altitude training, their betrayals, quality control. The universe let them try everything just to document that nothing worked. There's another question. If I passed, why did it take so long? Because mastery takes time. The universe won't hand you what you can't hold. You weren't just being tested to pass, you were being tested to be trusted. trusted with momentum that won't break you, trusted with rooms where impulsive people self-destruct, trusted with resources that amplify whatever's inside you. Impulsive anger, it would have ruined you. Insecure ego, it would have exposed you. But you cleaned that out in the quiet, which is why you're safe now to carry weight that would crush amateurs. Look back at those nights when your chest felt heavy and your mind felt loud. That wasn't punishment, that was calibration. Your thresholds were being set, your values were being welded into place. Your future self was asking your present self a simple question: will you trade your crown for comfort? You didn't. You took the long road, and the long road took you to the high ground. While they were counting likes, you were counting lessons. While they were gaming the system, you were learning its wiring. Now, you don't fear the dark because you understand the circuit. Your scars aren't decorations, they're documentation. Anyone can brag about strength when the weather's perfect. You learn to steer in crosswinds, navigate with broken instruments, and land with one engine out. That's why rooms will start bending toward you now. That's why people who never noticed you will suddenly want your direction. Not because you've become convenient, but because your frequency changed. You don't chase. Gravity does the work for you when you've passed the altitude test. Let's be brutally honest for the enemy's sake. They didn't miss your rise. They failed their own exams. They had the same chances to choose honesty over hype and discipline over dopamine. They chose shortcuts. You chose character. They chose spectacle. You chose structure. They will call your win luck to protect their pride, but luck can't mimic longevity. Systems do. You didn't get lucky. You got licensed by the universe to handle what you were begging for years ago. Now you're ready because you earned ready. You might still ask, what if I made mistakes? You did, and that's exactly why you passed. The test wasn't about perfection, it was about correction. Could you self-correct without an audience? Could you apologize, adjust, and advance without turning your healing into a performance? Mistakes were required. Denial was optional. You chose growth over posing, and growth always graduates. Here's the clean finish they can't swallow. You cracked the code they can't even read. The universe watched you interpret silence as structure, pain as data, and delay as training. It saw you resist pettiness, protect your peace, and refuse to compete with noise. And now the grade is final. You didn't just pass, you posted a perfect score under conditions designed to make you fold. So when doors open, don't stutter. When opportunities call, don't shrink. The same people who laughed at your language will need a translator just to keep up with your pace. Stand up straighter, shoulders back, chin forward. The exam is over, the license is active. Those who tried to humiliate you only helped calibrate you. Those who tried to confuse you only clarified you. Those who tried to block you only built your detour into a runway. You aren't stepping into a new season, you're stepping into jurisdiction. The universe doesn't waste readiness, and you are ready. Walk like it, speak like it, move like it. And when the enemy asks how you made it, tell them the simplest truth. I stopped asking for your language to validate my code. The universe read it, stamped it, and set me free. Number 2. You were being scored by a system they'll never understand. Let them count trophies. You were collecting character. That's the punchline the universe whispered while they were busy keeping score with money, followers, and fake smiles. They graded you on visibility. The universe graded you on invisibility. Down here, the loudest person in the room gets applause. Up there, the quietest one with consistency gets crowned. That's why they never understood your progress. It wasn't meant to be public. You weren't in a popularity contest. You were sitting in an unseen examination hall where the only judge that mattered was the universe itself. See, the world measures success in noise, titles, possessions, status, but the universe measures success in stillness, resilience, patience, and integrity. While they were chasing recognition, you were learning self-control. While they were networking for attention, you were mastering emotional detachment. You weren't falling behind, you were just being graded differently. They looked at your delays and laughed. But every delay was a calibration. Every rejection was an answer key. Every no you got was proof that you were being protected from something beneath your standards. Remember, gold isn't weighed in applause, it's weighed in fire. That's the difference between you and them. Imagine this, two people running the same race, but one's track is visible and the other's underground. The crowd only sees one runner and declares a winner. They don't realize the other runner is building endurance in darkness, breathing dust, tripping over roots, yet still moving. That was you. And when you rise through the surface, they'll call it sudden success. But you and the universe will know it was a long-distance test disguised as delay. You might be wondering, why does the universe test me in ways no one else seems to face? Because your syllabus isn't theirs. Your journey was designed with higher stakes and tighter lessons. They're learning how to play the game. You're learning how to design it. The universe doesn't promote you when people understand you. It promotes you when you're misunderstood, but still consistent. You kept showing up when no one clapped. You kept believing when logic said stop. You kept your dignity when disrespect was easier. That's what the universe was grading, not your comfort, but your control. Imagine this, two houses side by side. One is built fast with cheap material, the other takes longer because it's built to survive storms. The first one looks finished earlier and everyone claps for it. But when the rain comes, only one still stands. That's you, chosen one. You were never behind. You were being built with precision. Every storm, every disappointment, every season of silence was another layer of reinforcement. The universe doesn't rush what's meant to last. Here's another truth. You were invisible because your results were incubating. The world saw you as idle, but the universe saw incubation. You were gathering wisdom while they were gathering attention. They thought you lost momentum, but really you were learning how to move without noise. And now that your foundation is stable, everything will accelerate so fast that even time will look confused. Because while they celebrated early, you prepared correctly. You might ask, then why did it look like I was losing everything? Because the universe doesn't reward those who hold on too tightly to what's temporary. Some of those losses were divine subtractions. People, jobs, and chances fell away, not because you were unworthy, but because they couldn't survive the altitude you were heading toward. You can't climb Everest with dead weight. The universe removed what couldn't handle your evolution. Rejection isn't redirection. It's filtration. Only what's pure passes through. Imagine standing in a classroom where everyone else is showing off their grades and you're sitting quietly with no paper in your hand. You start to think you failed, but later the teacher calls you aside and says, "Your test was different. You were being graded on leadership, not memorization." That's exactly what happened. They were taking tests that measure comfort. Yours measured courage. They were learning formulas. You were learning faith. They got certificates. You got strength. The universe doesn't measure how many times you win. It measures how many times you refuse to lose yourself. Integrity is the real currency of elevation. You were broke, but didn't beg. You were betrayed, but didn't become bitter. You were overlooked, but didn't overreact. Every choice you made in silence became a data point in your favor. And while they thought you were losing, the universe was recording your patience as proof of qualification. Now, let's flip the question. Why do their shortcuts seem to work? Because shortcuts work until they don't. The universe allows temporary wins to expose long-term frauds. Some people get fast results because their lessons are shallow. But chosen ones are tested deeper because what's being built through you has to last generations, not moments. They got ahead by skipping chapters. You became the chapter others will study. That's why it took longer. You weren't being punished, you were being preserved. Imagine being a seed watching birds fly overhead. You might think you're stuck in the dirt while everyone else is free, but you're not buried, you're being planted. The darkness isn't your deathbed, it's your development phase. And when your time comes, you'll rise taller than the trees that once looked down on you. That's how the universe works. It doesn't clap for sprouts, it crowns survivors. The world thinks success is how much you can stack. The universe knows success is how much you can sacrifice without losing your spirit. They counted your money. The universe counted your moments of silence when you could have lashed out, but didn't. They measured your followers. The universe measured your self-control. They celebrated your absence from the spotlight as evidence of failure. The universe recorded it as proof of maturity. And now, chosen one, the results are out. You didn't just pass, you passed with distinction. You survived storms they couldn't even spell. You held your peace when chaos was cheaper. You rebuilt yourself quietly while they made noise about your fall. And now that the universe has finished grading, the promotion is in motion. Opportunities will start showing up that make no sense to others because they weren't in the class. The universe doesn't give out medals, it issues missions. Your elevation isn't a reward, it's a reassignment. You're not just moving up, you're moving into a realm where your silence carries more weight than their speeches. Where your calm presence intimidates their loud insecurities. Where your results expose their exaggerations. And the same people who doubted your delay will now have to decode your speed. So understand this, the world's scoreboard never applied to you. They can't grade what they can't comprehend. You were taking an unseen exam in character, consistency, and resilience. And now that the results are official, you're not just ready, you're radiant. The universe doesn't waste excellence, and you've proven you can handle the next level. So walk forward with quiet confidence. Let them compare resumes. You've built a reputation with the universe itself. The test is done, the grades are sealed, and the verdict is simple. You were never behind, you were being refined. Number 3. Graded while the room went dead. Quiet. Silence isn't a void, it's the soundproof room where the universe measures your spine. That's why your hardest nights felt empty, chosen one. No signs, no confirmations, no sudden rescues, just a thick, surgical quiet. But quiet isn't neglect. It's the exam protocol. When the test begins, the proctor stops speaking. No hints, no lifelines, only what you've built inside you. That's where you were, under a still sky, proving you could steer without a voice in your ear. They said you were ignored. They said nothing was moving. They asked if you'd taken a wrong turn. They were wrong. The universe wasn't absent. It was observing. Imagine this, a pilot in instrument flight rules. Clouds swallow the horizon, no landmarks, no sun, only gauges. Amateurs panic. Professionals trust their panel. You learn to read your instruments, values, boundaries, discipline when visibility dropped to zero. That's maturity, not misdirection. Real faith is staying seated when the exit sign glows. The silence asked brutal questions. Will you wait or force it? Build or beg? Stay principled or grab the shortcut that stains your hands? Many fail here because they mistake quiet for abandonment and start swinging wildly at the air, over-texting, oversharing, overdosing on quick fixes that turn wins into warnings. You didn't. You held your ground. That restraint wasn't passivity. It was power under control. Imagine a bakery at dawn. No crowd, no applause, just heat, timing, and patience. Open the oven too early, the bread collapses. That's what the universe tested. Could you let things rise without tearing the door open to check? Or picture a photographer in a dark room. No spotlight, only process. Expose the film too fast, the image dies. You learn to protect your development from curious eyes and careless advice. That's why your results will arrive fully formed, not half-baked. Here's a fact. Psychologists call it distress tolerance, the ability to endure uncertainty without impulsive behavior. It's a predictor of long-term success. You built that capacity. You chose alignment over attention, timing over temptation, data over drama. The universe recorded it all. The message you didn't send, the meeting you didn't chase, the bridge you didn't burn. So if you're asking, why did it have to be so quiet? Because influence requires internal navigation. Leaders can't need constant weather reports to move. The silence certified you. It proved your engine runs without external fuel. Now the lid lifts. Locked doors click. Hidden pathways light up. Not because you begged louder, but because you passed the quiet. Silence was never empty. It was the audit. You didn't just survive it, you earned your clearance. Proceed. Number 4. Your mistakes were loaded questions you were meant to answer. Not every wrong turn is failure. Some are trapdoors to the next level. Read that again. The universe didn't waste your detours, it designed them. Those heartbreaks weren't curses, they were exam prompts. Those closed doors weren't humiliation, they were multiple choice questions with only one answer that could move you forward. Protect your character. Every betrayal asked, will you go bitter or get sharper? Every disappointment asked, will you let this crack you or craft you? Every delay asked, do you trust timing or only when timing flatters you? Imagine this. You're in a maze with one-way mirrors. From the outside, people swear you're lost. Inside, you're learning the map by touch. Or picture a pilot told to hold in a storm. Circling isn't failure, it's survival protocol until the runway is safe. Or a chess game where you sacrificed a piece. The crowd gasps, but your gambit opens the board. That was you. You answered the hard questions in real time. You forgave without an apology. You paused when panic pushed you to chase. You chose dignity when drama tried to bait you. The universe took notes. You might ask, if it was all a test, why did it sting so much? Because pain is how the question is printed. Experience is a lie detector. Your choices tell the truth. Some people keep repeating the grade because they keep picking resentment, retreat, and envy. You didn't. You returned the paper with cleaner answers each time. Restraint over revenge, patience over shortcuts, boundaries over begging. That's why your path, though slower, is safer. The universe can promote what it can trust. Here's a fact to anchor you. Behavioral science shows that repeated adversity met with adaptive responses builds stress resilience and better long-term decision-making. Translation: you trained your future not to panic. You learned to let doors close without clawing at them, to let people exit without staging a chase scene, to let silence pass without filling it with self-sabotage. The so-called wrong turns rerouted you away from traps you couldn't see from the ground. So no, the people who hurt you were never steering this car. They were speed bumps proving you can keep control. The opportunities that got away were decoys with strings attached. Rejection is a filter, not a verdict. And because you kept choosing the answer key, character over comfort, the grading is complete. You didn't dodge hardship. You denied it the power to rewrite who you are. That's why the next road will look strangely clear. You didn't get lucky. You got licensed. Proceed. Number 5. Your hidden battles were the bonus points that changed everything. Anyone can perform when the lights are on. It's what you do in the dark that earns distinction. That's the line the universe wrote beside your name, Chosen One. Because what no one saw were the nights you bled in silence, patching yourself up just enough to keep moving. No cameras, no sympathy, no applause, only grit. The world celebrates the highlight reel, but the universe grades the behind-the-scenes footage. Those sleepless nights when you whispered to the ceiling instead of quitting. Those were the extra credit questions that others skipped. Imagine this, a soldier polishing his armor long after the war has ended. No crowd, no reward, just discipline. That's what your private sacrifices looked like. Or picture an athlete training at dawn when the stadium's empty. The sweat no one sees is what builds the form everyone praises later. Greatness is forged in the hours that don't trend. You didn't just endure, you executed in silence. You kept pouring into others while your own cup trembled. You kept showing up when your spirit was half-charged. That's extra credit. Not required, but rewarded beyond calculation. You might ask, did any of it matter? Every second did. Neuroscientists say the brain rewires itself under pressure. Persistence literally sculpts resilience. You weren't just surviving, you were rewiring your thresholds. Every tear, every private, "I'll try again tomorrow," became data in your favor. People assumed you were stagnant, but you were quietly constructing a foundation too deep for them to measure. The universe doesn't reward loud effort. It multiplies quiet endurance. Think of an artist painting in the dark, trusting that morning light will reveal beauty. That was you. Or a seed pushing through dirt. No one applauds the root's effort, yet it's what makes the bloom possible. Your unseen work, your prayers, your patience, your self-control wasn't invisible. It was incubated. You didn't just pass life's exam, you wrote extra pages in your own hand. And now, Chosen One, the universe is cashing those points in. The balance is tilting. Those quiet efforts are about to echo loudly. Every sacrifice compounded interest. Every tear was a receipt. You didn't aim to impress. You aimed to endure. That's why your reward won't just reflect what you did publicly, but everything you survived privately. The world saw nothing, but the universe saw it all, and it's about to grade in your favor. Number 6. You survived the storm that was meant to erase you. Some people were sent to destroy you and ended up building your legend instead. That's the line the universe stamped across your story, Chosen One, because let's be honest, what you went through wasn't just difficulty, it was warfare. There were nights you weren't fighting circumstances, you were fighting to stay sane. There were attacks aimed not at your goals, but at your soul. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still standing. That alone is victory. You didn't just survive the battlefield, you outlasted the battle plan. Think about it. Some of those moments were structured to collapse you completely. Emotional ambushes, betrayals from people who swore loyalty, seasons where you lost everything that made you feel safe. You should have broken down, but instead you broke through. That's not coincidence, that's calibration. When pressure tried to crush you, the universe used it to carve you. Every attack that was supposed to bury you became the soil that grew your discipline. Every heartbreak that was meant to drain you built emotional armor no weapon can pierce now. Imagine a ship built for calm seas, suddenly dropped into a storm. The weak hulls splinter, but the strong adapt. The wood flexes, the captain learns rhythm. You were that ship. You discovered balance while taking hits. Or picture steel in a forge. It screams under heat, but that pain is the process. You walked through the kind of fire that melts ordinary people, and you didn't just come out, you came out sharper. You might ask, why did the universe allow that level of resistance? Because resistance reveals readiness. No pilot earns wings without turbulence. No boxer gets the belt without getting hit. The harder it came for you, the more valuable what's inside you is. The universe doesn't waste its storms on small destinies. That's why the fight was so heavy. Your future required proof that you could handle weight without breaking form. You lost some things along the way, people, plans, illusions, but you didn't lose yourself. You cried, yes. You staggered, yes. But you kept walking when logic said crawl. That's the kind of stamina algorithms can't predict and enemies can't imitate. You weren't shielded from every hit, but you were sustained through all of them. And now the storm has gone silent. The air feels lighter because the universe is shifting in your favor. The test is done, and endurance has earned you access. The doors opening now aren't random. They're response codes to your survival. You outlived what was meant to erase you, and that means you're not just alive, you're chosen. The universe has marked you as one who finished the hardest exam, persistence. Now, the only thing left to do is step into your reward with the calm of someone who's already won. Number 7. You were judged by trust, not trivia. Knowledge talks, trust walks. That's the law the universe used to grade you, chosen one. Because anyone can repeat wisdom when the sky is clear, but only a few can keep moving when lightning's overhead. This wasn't an exam about what you knew. It was about what you believed when nothing made sense. The universe didn't want your memorized answers. It wanted your instinctive reactions. Would you panic when control slipped away? Would you still move when logic screamed stop? Would you trust the path, even when the map burned in your hands? You see, knowing the right thing and doing the right thing are two different currencies. The world rewards knowledge because it's easy to display. The universe rewards trust because it's expensive to maintain. Faith isn't what you say when you're winning. It's what you do when you can't tell if you're still in the game. When you were buried in doubt, when your plans dissolved, when your timeline shattered, you didn't fold. You acted like someone who believed the universe was still plotting something bigger behind the chaos. That's not intellect, that's instinct born from alignment. Imagine walking a tightrope in fog. You can't see the next step, but you trust the wire will hold because you've tested your balance 1,000 times before. That was you. Or think of a driver on a road at night. The headlights don't show the whole journey, only a few feet ahead, yet you keep driving anyway. That's what trust looks like. Motion without full vision. You lived that. Many people failed this same exam. They had the knowledge, the quotes, the theories, but when silence came, they scrambled for proof. They trusted only when they could predict the outcome. You trusted when everything went blank. The universe measures belief by movement, not by comfort. While others were waiting for a guarantee, you became the guarantee. You moved forward without it. You might ask, why trust when it's that painful? Because trust rewrites the system. It tells the universe, even if I don't understand, I'm still aligned. That signal can't be faked. And that's why you're being promoted now. Not because you studied the theory of strength, but because you lived it. You didn't just speak about faith. You became its translation in real time. When others let go, you gripped tighter. When others blamed fate, you mastered it. And now the universe looks at you and declares the final score. You passed not by memorization, but by manifestation. You didn't just know trust, you embodied it. Number 8, your delays were blueprints, not punishment. Delay isn't denial, it's divine editing. That's the truth the universe wants you to grasp, chosen one. What you called waiting was actually wiring. What you mistook for punishment was precision. You weren't being benched, you were being calibrated for an outcome too large to fit your old settings. Some doors had to stay sealed, not because you lacked value, but because they led to small rooms that couldn't hold your expansion. Think about it. Some of those early opportunities looked perfect from the outside, shiny and urgent, but inside they were traps dressed as timing. Quick blessings age like milk, aligned blessings age like wine. The universe knew that if it gave you what you wanted too soon, it would have shrunk your vision to fit the comfort zone you begged for, so it made you wait. Not to torture you, but to toughen you, because unprepared success is just failure in expensive packaging. Imagine a rocket launch. The countdown pauses. Technicians run checks. From the outside, it looks like delay. From inside, it's safety. Every second of waiting prevents catastrophe at altitude. That was your life. Or picture a photographer adjusting the lens in silence while the subject grows impatient. 1 second of misfocus ruins the shot, so precision takes time. You weren't being ignored, you were being aligned. You might have wondered, why is everyone else moving ahead while I'm stuck? But look again, some of them sprinted into jobs, relationships, and fame built on shaky foundations, and the same speed that got them there is the speed that will break them. You weren't built for speed, you were built for sustainability. The universe doesn't manufacture shooting stars, it molds constellations. Here's a fact. Psychologists say delayed gratification is one of the highest predictors of lifelong success. It builds emotional discipline and resilience. That's what was happening. You were developing the kind of patience that separates masters from amateurs. You learned to stop chasing, to let timing chase you. You stopped begging for entry and started becoming the door itself. And now, that waiting season is folding into purpose. The not yet is becoming now. The doors opening next won't demand you to shrink, beg, or compromise. They'll recognize your vibration before you even knock. What looked like wasted time was the universe syncing every moving piece, people, places, and moments to match your frequency. So walk forward calmly. What felt like delay was never punishment. It was preparation so perfect, even the setback was strategic. Number 9, rejection was the universe's way of repositioning you. Rejection is the universe saying, you're aiming too low. Remember that, chosen one. Every door that slammed in your face wasn't punishment, it was redirection. You thought they broke your spirit, but they were actually bending your path toward alignment. The people who dismissed you weren't villains, they were tools in a reroute system. Their absence built the silence you needed to hear your own calling clearly. When you were left out, overlooked, or underestimated, it wasn't because you lacked value, it's because your value was too advanced for the environment you were in. Imagine planting a redwood seed in a flower pot. It doesn't fail to grow. It simply outgrows the space. Sometimes you're not too small for the room is too small for you. Those rejections were nature's way of uprooting you from shallow soil and pushing you toward your forest. Think of it this way, a sculptor doesn't add to the stone, he chips away what doesn't belong. Every rejection was a divine chisel, removing excess attachments, false opportunities, and fragile loyalties. You didn't lose people. You lost limitations. You didn't lose jobs. You lost distractions. You didn't lose love. You lost illusion. The universe knew that if certain doors stayed open, you'd mistake convenience for destiny. You might ask, why did it have to hurt this much? Because growth disguised as rejection is the universe's toughest teacher. It doesn't whisper, it removes. It lets you cry, then rebuilds your confidence in private. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's the punctuation mark before the new chapter starts. You were meant to stand out, not blend in. That's why you never fit. That's why no amount of dimming ever made them comfortable with your light. And now the proof is unfolding. The rooms that once ignored you are being rearranged to invite you. The people who couldn't see your worth will watch others celebrate it publicly. You're not walking back into old circles. You're being placed where your energy isn't just accepted, it's essential. So stop calling it rejection. It was redirection. Stop calling it loss. It was liberation. Every no was a GPS reroute to a higher timeline. Every exit was the universe whispering, not this one, keep moving. You were never unwanted. You were being preserved for precision. And now, chosen one, you're stepping into the spaces that were waiting for the version of you rejection helped refine. Number 10. The universe didn't just pass you, it crowned you. Graduation isn't a ceremony, it's a shift in gravity. That's exactly what's happening to you, chosen one. You didn't just survive your test, you rewrote the exam. You didn't just pass, you set a new curve. The universe doesn't hand out participation medals, it hands out thrones to those who endured the storm and still protected their integrity. You're not being sent back to the same arena to fight recycled enemies. You've outgrown that battlefield. You've been promoted to command level. What's coming next isn't a replay, it's a reign. The season ahead won't demand the same hustle, the same desperation, or the same defensive energy you once carried. The universe saw how you handled scarcity, betrayal, and silence, and it marked you as trustworthy with abundance, loyalty, and authority. When the student stops fighting for survival, the universe starts preparing them for stewardship. That's you now. You've graduated from reacting to creating. Think about it. When a soldier passes training, they don't return to the obstacle course. They're deployed as leaders. When a scientist completes years of research, they don't go back to basic formulas. They start shaping discovery itself. You're in that same transition. The person who once struggled to stay afloat has become the current. The waves that used to intimidate you now move at your command. You might ask, why was the testing so brutal? Because your next level isn't cushioned, it's crowned. The universe refines its rulers in fire so they never fear heat again. Every betrayal was a leadership drill. Every delay was an ego check. Every heartbreak was emotional conditioning to teach you compassion without codependence. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared for permanence. Joseph didn't go back to the pit. He ruled nations. David didn't hide in caves. He governed from a throne. Esther didn't fade back into the crowd. She became the reason her people survived. You, too, won't return to what broke you. You'll return to oversee what once overwhelmed you. The same places that rejected you will now require your permission to proceed. And here's the truth. The test results are final. The universe didn't just pass you, it promoted you. It didn't just give you clearance, it gave you command. You are not a survivor anymore. You're an architect of destiny. This new level won't ask you to prove yourself. It will ask you to use yourself. To build, to lead, to influence. The wilderness was your classroom. Now the crown is your curriculum. Everything you've endured, every delay, every silence, every heartbreak has been constructing the platform beneath your feet right now. You're standing on your own proof. So walk forward without hesitation. You've earned this promotion not through privilege, but through pressure. The universe doesn't waste perfect scores, and you just achieved one. Now it's time to rule. So, chosen one, if this message reached you, it's because you were meant to hear it. You didn't just pass life's hardest exam, you mastered it. The universe watched every silent victory, every unseen sacrifice, and now it's declaring you ready. This is your season to rise, lead, and live in alignment with who you truly are. If this message spoke to your soul, press that like button right now. And if you're not already part of this family, make sure to subscribe, because your next chapter starts here, and we're walking this journey together.